So welcome to another war game review from theplayersaid.com. My name's Alexander.
And I'm Grant.
And today we're taking a look at a new release from Osprey Games, and this is Undaunted Normandy. And this is designed by a friend of ours, David Thompson, and also Trevor Benjamin as well.
Yep.
This is a two-player tactical
Deck building game.
Yeah, which
Doesn't fit together, does it?
no, when it was posited,
It's
I was
like ice cream and sardines. It doesn't fit together.
No, unless you're a cat. I don't
Yeah.
But this one, it's a light war game, two players. It plays very quickly, and as a kind of a deck builder and some tiles that you move around on, it's more of a light affair. Kind of appeals to a kind of a broader audience than some of us more hardcore hex and counter war gamers, which is nice because this is a game that you can play with a lot of different people.
Yes.
I think you can play with more if you expand it with a couple sets.
That I'm not sure about. I mean, I don't know why you couldn't.
Yeah, but typically
Make some
two-player
rules
game.
to do it, right?
Yes.
Well, we were talking earlier, who does this appeal to? And we made the comment that most hardcore wargamers are going to turn their nose up at this.
And shouldn't.
And they shouldn't,
But they might.
but they're going to say, oh, it's random depending on what card I get, or, you know, I won that game because I drew the right card at the right time.
Yes.
And you were waiting for the same thing, but it's like, it's really well done.
Yes.
I just feel like the tension is palpable, and you're thinking about that all the time. Oh, I need that commander with the 8/7 value so that I can win this initiative, take my 2 turns before your machine gunners cut me down. And I love that. It's very cool.
Yes.
Very cool.
And the people who are going to enjoy this the most are the people who are going to understand what this game is, I think.
Right.
Right? It's not, this isn't ASL.
No.
This isn't even Combat Commander. The tactical nature of it is very simple.
Yeah.
You have a defensive value, and that's modified by range and whatever the cover on the tile is.
Yeah.
Real simple. You're rolling anywhere. It's a D10, and you need usually anywhere from like
Six
a 6 to a 9
9.
to hit, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a dice masher. You play your card to attack. Boom. You do it. Oh, I missed. Great. Or you use your machine gun. They can roll more dice. Things like
Too
that.
many dice, I think.
Well,
But that's my opinion.
but it's real simple like that.
Yeah,
You have a
it
hand
is.
of 4 cards. Your cards correspond to, anywhere from 4 to 8 counters, depending on the size of your scenario. Oh, this is the guy that I can move. Boop, I can move in 1 space, or I can attack with 1 dice, or I can control an objective that I might be on.
Yeah.
Really simple, beautiful presentation as well.
Well, the
artwork's fantastic.
The art on this is just absolutely ridiculous, frankly. Roland McDonald, and it looks great. It actually is very evocative of the period and just feels right.
Yeah.
I really like it.
But it's simple game, really quick to learn, and playing it, a lot of people who don't typically play war games, people who've played a lot of deck builders or other kind of not regular board games, this has a lot of familiarity with the mechanics from it, but it has a neat historical theme. There's a little blurb in all the scenarios as well, kind of giving a bit of depth to it, and it exposes you to kind of at least a very, very light fare of some World War II tactical combat, taking some pot shots here and there, laying down some suppressing fire with your machine gunners.
4 dice worth of suppressing fire.
Yeah, lobbing mortars across the board.
Snipers.
Yeah, so, but not overwhelming in any way, shape, or form.
No.
Very small rulebook. Comes in a nice, tidy little box.
Yeah.
And the gameplay for a scenario, 25 minutes?
Yeah, it just depends on, if we're really battling it out and gumming each other's hands up with Fog of War, it can be 35 minutes or 40 minutes, but
and
average,
some of the
I think,
scenarios
30.
are a bit bigger. They might take a bit longer.
Yeah.
But
Well, one thing I really like, it's squad-based. It's squad level. So you have different men in your deck that do different things. You've got scouts. They actually have to go out into a tile and scout that tile, place a marker before you can then move a rifleman. I think you can you move into tiles without scouting it?
Nope.
No, so you have to move in first, scout it, then you can move a rifleman in, and then you can do things like control or other, you're trying to take over tiles. So I really like that. And then you got machine gunners in the back that are just, cover
just
fire.
suppressing fire.
So it's really cool how those different types of units work together. The scouts have multifunction. You can get rid of Fog of War cards. You can also do a really slick thing called conceal, where I force you to put a Fog of War into your deck, your discard pile, actually.
Yes.
You know, so those things are cool. Figuring out when to do what, when you should be doing it. Your leaders are really cool because they can allow you to draw more cards from your deck. So you may go from having 3 or 4 cards to play, depending on what you did for the initiative, to having, what is it, 2 usually?
Usually command 2, you can draw 2 more cards.
So you can have 5 cards to play. And to be honest, card advantage in this game is a huge thing.
Yes.
Card advantage, stocking your deck with the right types of cards.
Culling bad ones.
Culling the bad ones.
Getting your guys to, I think it's go to ground or hit the deck. I forget what it is. Hunker down, that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You can take cards out of your deck and put them back in your supply.
Right.
So if you
have better chances of drawing the card you want.
Yes.
Or need at that point.
And reconning the Fog of War out. There's some really neat,
really cool,
but also simple deck manipulation.
Yeah.
To do. What I enjoy is that you've got your counters on the board. This is Scout from A squad. This is Rifleman from A squad. You got a Machine Gunner from B squad. But in your hand, the platoon leaders and the squad leaders are just cards. They're not leader counters on the board.
Yeah.
And the leader counters might allow you to use a card you've already used, double use something, the Inspire action. Or you can bolster, get more cards of the same type that you already have.
Yeah.
And that's because the cards are also your hit points. That's the other interesting part of this. So I might have kind of Scout A on the board. There's 3 Scout A cards in my kind of supply. One of them's in my deck, and when I draw it, I activate that guy. I can bolster that and get those other 2 from the supply into my deck. That's the deck building. And what happens is if Scout A gets attacked, and the attack is successful, and he takes a wound, if I have a Scout A in my hand, I discard it. Or it goes out of the game. It's like killed. So you can have your cards that you have in your hand, discard pile, and draw deck that you've bolstered in there. That's the hit points.
Yeah.
So some of the more important ones, like your rifle squads, you're trying to get all of those in so they can take a couple wounds but still be on the board to control objectives and things like that. Some of the more, like the machine gunners and the mortar squads, those have fewer cards available. They got fewer hit points because they're
Machine gunners are 3, I think.
Yeah.
Mortars, I think, are 3 too.
Yes. And so you have to be a bit more careful with those guys.
Yeah.
Can't be as running out in the open with them. So there's some neat little strategy based on the card play and how that works with the board. I think they've done a really good job of how those things synergize and feel like I'm not playing a card game and then a board game. It's really one and the same. And some games have this. It's like what I do with my cards, and then I'm like, I resolve everything.
Yeah.
And this is like, oh no.
Yep.
These are your hit points. This is all this cool stuff, which, all in all, still very simple in a really short book as well.
I think anybody could play this. Your children could play this. Probably 9 or above would get it. 8 or 9
do they
and
have
above.
a recommended age on here? Some games do that.
Yeah.
They say 14 plus.
I would think my daughter Jane could get this. Now, would she understand totally all the strategies? Maybe not.
And that's where that might come
nuances.
in. There's a little bit of nuance to this, but nothing that if you haven't played Memoir 44, you wouldn't get. Right. This is not a heavy game. And that's you just have to go into this understanding that, right?
Yeah.
I'm not,
This is not ASL, like you said. You're not going to have a rule for line of sight.
Nope.
That's one thing I saw on some of the forums. Oh, there's no line of sight restrictions. Well, that's not what this game is. It's about distance.
Yeah.
It's about distance and taking shots with things in cover. Don't worry about line of sight. It's just not needed for this scale and what the game is trying to do.
Yeah, the game's not trying to be the most accurate tactical simulation. It's not. And so it doesn't pretend to be either.
No, it doesn't.
And so
it's not marketed that way, and no one should take it that way.
The combat's very quick and dirty. It's nice and easy.
But it's fun.
Yes.
It's fun.
And it's, as such, it's not super duper intense in the rules pickup.
Right.
Or in like the burning my brain playing a game, because that turns a lot of people off. This is a very wide, appealing game.
Yeah.
If you can get someone to agree to play a 2-player World War II game, at least. But, the short time play, I think, is a big bonus that you can kind of
Agreed.
nudge people into it that might not be as open to these kind of games as they would be with having such long games out there. This is quick and short, which is really nice.
Agreed.
What I'll do is I'll show you a little bit how it plays very quickly, and we'll wrap up with a few final thoughts. So here's a look at the board. This is just one of the scenarios. As you can see, it's modular tiles. So this one had a nice river going down the side of it. The Germans set up on this side, and the Americans over in this corner. You can see there's like a camp with these tents on it, and the rest of the field, some open terrain, more plowed fields, and then there's a kind of a forest tile down here. You'll notice the tiles. Let's look at the forest here. It's just forest, and at the bottom it has this little 3 shield value on it. That's its defensive value. That's how much cover it gets. If you look at tile 9B, this has a 0. There's no cover in an open area. This little kind of farm has a 1 cover value. So that's it. It's very abstract in that sense. The other things you'll see on this board, there are these circular markers. The ones with the binoculars are ones that have been scouted. That means I've had a scout unit. So here's my little scout from B squad. He's got that red B on him. That means he's gone through these and he's put a scouted marker on both of these spaces. The rifleman, when he gets there, he can play a card that says command or control on it, and he can flip that scouted marker to a control marker. I control this area, which means these 3 victory points are German now. And this scenario was a race to get 6 victory points. So you can see the Americans got 2 from this space. Let's see if we can see that. There's 2. That's a 2 marker. They had 2 from tile up here and 2 from this tile here. So they were trying to spread out this way, and the Germans were trying to spread out this way. And obviously there's a lot of close combat right here on this area. And this was a bit more of kind of a taking pot shots kind of a thing. But that's really it. The rest of these counters, this is Rifle Squad A, Scout A, and then Machine Gunner A and Machine Gunner B for the Germans. And what the crux of the game is you have these cards. So this is a hand of 4 German cards, and then the American player is going to draw a hand of 4 cards as well. Let's just get him a quick hand. And we'll go from there. Okay. So you have 4 cards each, and what you do is you choose one of these cards to play for initiative, and you simply look at these numbers here. That's all you're looking at. The highest number played wins. So the Americans don't care about initiative, so they're going to play a Fog of War face down. And the German player, this is even this part of the game, you got choices to make. Well, I've got Fog of War, I could just waste it. I don't necessarily want to use my good cards and waste those on an initiative, because if I play this for initiative, I can't activate Scout A. Oh, what do I do? What do I do? I'm going to play a Fog of War as well. So you do this blindly, and then you reveal them both. Oh look, we both played a 1. When it's tied, this is the American initiative marker. If it's tied, it goes to the person who didn't have it. So lucky for the German player, they both played a 1. So those both get discarded, and then the German player gets to go first. So the German player's got Scout A, Scout B, and their platoon sergeant. So looking at the board here, Scout A's over here. So we're going to play the Scout A card, and we're going to do an attack. They can do a scout, attack, recon, or conceal. And they're going to do an attack on this scout right here. And quite simply, this has a cover value of 1 on the tile, 5 on the counter. You can see here he's got a 5 value on that shield. And then it is 1 space away. So it's 5, 6, 7 for being that far away. And so you roll 1 dice because it's an attack 1. And I'm looking for a 7 or more. I rolled a 2, that's a miss. No good. So this goes to my discard pile. Then I might play my Scout B over here. He's going to try and take out this rifleman. So he's looking at this value. The rifleman has a defensive value of only 4. He's not quite as good, presumably because there's more of them, they're less sneaky. He's got a defensive value of 1, and he's 2 spaces away. So they also need a 7 on that roll. And we rolled a 6, no good. Discard that. My last card here, I have a Bolster 3 or a Command 2. Command 2 allows me to draw 2 cards and keep my turn going. Or I can Bolster 3. So I'm actually going to Bolster 3. That means I can take any 3 cards from my supply and put them into my discard pile. So it's getting cards into circulation. So I'm actually going to take cards for Rifleman A. So I'm going to take 3 Rifleman A cards and stick them into my discard pile. So those are eventually going to get shuffled back into my hand so that I can use Rifleman A more often. He needs to move, he needs to capture this area, move here, capture this area for me to win the game. So that's what a bolster does, nice and simple. And then it's the American turn, and they're looking at their hand. So this squad leader, he can bolster 2 cards, but they have to be B squad cards. You remember that German, it was the, where did he go? The German platoon sergeant, he's higher rank. He could bolster 3 any cards. There's no stipulations. Well, this one's got stipulations. So the American player's got to think, oof, do I do this? Or, yes, they should. They have Inspire, which means a card that you've played that's in your play area, you can pick it up into your hand and use it again. But it says Inspire B. Well, the only cards I have are A cards, so that Inspire is pointless. So I'm just going to bolster 2 B cards, and they're going to pick up Machine Gun B and Machine Gun B. And those are going to go into the American discard pile. Now, Machine Gun B wasn't on the map. So this little counter gets put into this tile here. This says all. This is where all reinforcements come in. Oops, so we're just going to put that on the board there. And the American player's got a platoon sergeant. Oh, no, that's not true. They've got a scout and a Rifleman A. That's what they were looking at. So Rifleman A is going to... So they've got to move 1, an attack 1, or a control. They're going to use their control to flip this binoculars over to the control marker. And as soon as we do that, we have 2, 4, 6. The game ends, the Americans win, because 6 victory points is what they needed. If they didn't, for example, you can wait till later on to do that. There's no point. But the conceal on the scouts does things like it takes these fog of war cards, which are effectively blanks and are no good, and just gum up your hand. You can conceal. That puts an enemy fog of war into the enemy discard. That's your way to hose the other person's deck, although they're going to do that to you. Or, if you have a fog of war in your hand, if you have these 2 cards, you can recon, which means you discard your scout, and this goes out of your deck completely and out of your hand into the supply. So you can get rid of those by doing that recon and conceal back and forth. And the other option with the scout is they scout 2. So this scout would go 1, 2, and he scouts these 2 areas. Now that's important because riflemen, gunners, snipers, mortars, they cannot move into areas that haven't been scouted by your forward observers, these little scouts. So this rifleman could not go into this space. So if this was a victory point, you can't go in there and control it without having first sent a scout in there to put the binoculars on there, then the rifleman goes and controls it. So it's very important that you do the scouts. The other aspect of that is that as soon as you move into these areas, however many binoculars, the little scout markers you put down, you get that many fog of war cards into your discard pile. So you have to do your scouting, you get a bunch of fog of war, you're trying to clean those back out to help keep your deck lean and functional as best you can. But it's really quick. A lot of these are just, it's a race for victory point objectives, so you're trying to rush across the map, kind of pin them or kill them, so they can't control those whilst you're trying to do your own objectives. Very, very simple game. As you can see, I'm just going to show you one more time. Just to look at the artwork here. Even for Machine Gun B, these are these are two different illustrations. They might look the same, but they have different faces on them, for example. Slightly different. He's got his kind of his ammunition over his shoulder. Similar, but all these cards are so great. Just a really interesting style. And they're all different. It's just neat to look at. Those are the German ones. We got the American ones as well. So you got all your different riflemen from Rifle Squad B. And they are all different. And it's just nice. Just a little bit of variety in a game like this. But that's it. It's a very, very simple game. Playing the cards, doing what it says. And basically there's a page of the rule book that has all your actions on it, that tells you everything that you can do, all those actions. So you just keep this out, and that's it. That's all you need. You just play the game. Very, very simple. What I'll do is I'll just wrap up with a few final thoughts and get you on your way. So that's the board, or the tiles, I guess.
Modular board, right?
Yes, and I think the game comes with 16 scenarios in it.
And they're double-sided, so there's a 10B and there's a 10A.
And it would be very, very easy to make up and set up your own scenarios.
It would.
Would not be, just variations on what they've got in there, and just doing it yourself, using your brain. Would not be
using your brain.
Yeah, obviously,
don't
making super imbalanced ones, but it'd be very easy to kind of get a lot out of this box.
Well, I think there are 12 scenarios. Isn't that what we said?
Is it 12?
Maybe it's 10.
I thought it was.
Sorry, we should have read that before we.
16. Oh, it's 12. That's 12.
Yeah, it's 12. And the cool thing about it is, I think this game is infinitely expandable.
Yes.
Not only with the theaters. We've got a Western theater. You could do an Eastern European or East Front, or you could do North Africa, which they're actually working on at this point.
Yeah, there's so much potential for this. I'm sure they could make 4 or 5 different titles, and then just pick whatever theme appeals to you the most.
If you like North Africa and you like tanks, get that North African one.
I'll be interested.
I think they're adding vehicles.
I'll be interested to see how they do that.
It'll be interesting to see how that actually works out.
Yeah, because
this is a small scale. It's a squad level game.
Yes, and as such, it's simple. You don't have any armor values or anti-armor or anything
Once again,
like that.
it's not what this game is about. If you want that, go play ASL or go play something else. This is literally get in, play it, have a good time, enjoy it. There's some good strategy and tactics to it. Just play it and move on. If you want to go play earlier tonight we played a heavier war game. Just go play that. We played that for 4 or 5 hours and had a good time. This is what it is. It's a light deck building, historically focused game. And I think it's really good.
Yeah, I had fun with it. And that's the most important thing. For a game like this, I want it to be fun. I enjoy myself when I'm playing. And that's, I'm not looking for historical representation. I'm not looking to learn in this. I'm looking
that MG44 really should only be able to shoot 2 tiles. Come on. What's the scale? I don't know what the feed is.
And who cares?
Who cares?
It's just pulling some cards, chucking some dice, moving on the board. It's fun.
And it works. The counters are cool. The suppression, if you turn them over, you suppress them. They can be killed. I mean, it just works. The high points are there. The cover's there. It's all there.
The other thing that this game does offer is there's the campaign mode.
Yeah.
Where you can keep your kind of squads together. You can name them all, do all that kind of stuff. And as you play through the missions, you go on all these different missions and you kind of keep a running tally score of all the stuff that's happened with them.
Yeah.
So you can do that if you wanted to with a dedicated partner, kind of play through a whole bunch of them together. That's also an option that this game provides.
Wouldn't that lend itself well to a legacy style game? You put a pack of stickers in there with some different awards and
some wouldn't that
be cool?
It would have been neat.
We love games like Gloomhaven and those types of games where you put those stickers right on the cards.
Oh, I suddenly went from like
just a
attack 1 to an attack 2.
Yeah.
After half.
This gunner's better. He just is better now. He can shoot his, MG44 better, or this sniper just has better aim.
Yeah, that would
it would be interesting, David. Maybe an idea.
Yeah,
maybe a thought.
That does,
kind of a legacy style,
but also very simple.
Yeah, it's simple. Yeah, and I don't know that even that would turn it into something overly complex.
You could add that in a few pages and a couple different components.
Literally on the card, you just put, he goes from an attack 2 to an attack 3, so you put a little 3 over it.
Yeah.
Very simple.
Yes. So all in all, I have a good time playing this.
Yep, I agree.
And we've played it a fair few times now.
Yeah.
And
I've enjoyed every game of that. Even though some haven't gone your way, or I can't pull the cards, it's still a good time.
Yeah.
And I think that's what this is intended
because
to
you
be.
just put on your hat that's what this is.
Yeah.
This is just a fun, light game with a war theme on it, and it's neat, and the mechanics are very, very tidy in it as well.
Yeah, agreed.
They've done a good job putting it together.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people playing this at conventions that we've been to this year, and David's been demoing it like crazy.
Yeah, he has.
And there's a lot of kind of good buzz around it. So if you want a light war game that you can play with a lot of anyone, your kids, your nephews, even dedicated partners like us, where we could play incredibly heavy games, we can just crash this out when we've got a spare 20 minutes.
Yeah. Well, we hadn't shot a video of this yet, but what was my comment after playing for 4 or 5 hours? I was like, do you want to do another video, or do you want to do something for fun?
And this is both.
And this is what we pulled out. We pulled it out because it's fun, but we hadn't done a video yet.
Yes.
So I like games like that because everybody needs just to have fun, just to have a good time.
Yeah.
And this game is a good time.
And it's, I'll come back to it, you can play this in a session where you've played another big game.
Yes.
This is like, we played a big game, and then it's like, let's just wind down
30
the evening.
minutes. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Nice and easy. So this has a lot going for it. Check it out. I think you'll have a lot of fun with it. It's Undaunted Normandy from Osprey Games.
And beautiful package. Osprey always does a really good job. We've played, They Come Unseen. We've done some, what other games of theirs have we played?
We played a whole bunch. Did they do Agamemnon?
They did. Just all really well made, great components, really thick, sturdy boxes. They just really do a good job.
They have a box
Oh, it's
insert
beautiful.
that all the components fit into.
They absolutely
and fit into well. You don't need baggies for this.
Nope.
It's rare that a lot of war games don't come with
No.
that. And it's rare to have a war game that does, which is nice. So that's nice as well.
But Osprey does a good job,
Yes.
and they make a good product. And David makes a good game, and Trevor.
And the artwork is off the chain.
Yeah, and we love a game that looks good.
Yes.
I think just as important as good gameplay, good rules, and having fun is something that looks good.
Yes, and that helps wider appeal to mass market as well.
Absolutely.
So, as you can tell, we've had a blast playing this one. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I've been Alexander.
And I'm Grant.